So how we work is mostly B2B, and we partner with clients who are most of the time they're HR leaders, talent development leaders, and they have a very specific need. So what we do is we get really specific on what's the challenge that you're facing? What is the thing that keeps you up at night, literally? And from there, we have 10 different power skill offerings that we can most likely match your challenge with. So we have a pre-work, the live session. We have a laugh break before the live session. I can tell you about that. Then we have post-work. But the pre-work is a comedic video that our team has filmed that shows you how not to do the skills that we're going to come in and train you on. So we have 10 different videos, 10 different skills that we train you on. And then you do what we call a laugh break. And that's where we get your team on Zoom. We do short form improv over Zoom to show you what improv looks and feels like. So now that you've gotten your chops in on improv, you know what you're walking into. We come in either virtually or live. And let's say your team's specific challenges, you're having trouble communicating in a hybrid world. We would most likely recommend our effective communication workshop. It's a 2-hour session in person or an hour and a half session virtually. You are not able to look at your phone. It is so interactive. You're not able to use technology. You have to be present during that time with the people that you're in the workshop with. And then we have an e-learning course that is built in conjunction with every workshop offering we have too, that just reinforces what we teach you in those workshops, in the live sessions, because they are so impactful. We're using play to teach people. And when people get that ha-ha moment is what we say. That is when the light bulb goes off and you're laughing at the same time. That's when the magic happens and people start connecting the dots.
What's an example of a skill that maybe would fall flat because of the way you teach it, it's accepted and used and people benefit?
Yeah. So, okay, here's a good one. So listening, right? Like listening is, and this is fresh. I just did a workshop with a healthcare facility last Friday. And the reason I was in that room is because there was some internal gossip. There was people communicating on different channels. No one was getting the same information. So a lot of that was just making sure that when you are listening, you're listening in real time and that you have a streamlined process to do that. So one of my favorite activities that we do, and I could do this with you, Richard, if you're open to it. You want to do a little game with me?
Sure.
Okay. It's called last word response. Okay. So it's super easy. Can you tell me, let's just have a conversation about what you did this past weekend, and then I'll show you how it works. So tell me in like a sentence or two what you did this past weekend.
I took my son to get a haircut, went to the gym and swim, hung out with my wife, my other daughters, stuff like that.
So you ended your sentence on that. Okay. What I was listening for was the last word of your sentence, and that last word will be the first word of my sentence. So I would say, that sounds like an awesome weekend. I did some stuff with my family too and got in some good television binging. I needed a night on my couch. So I ended the last sentence with couch, and then couch would be the first sentence or the first word of your sentence. So try that for me, Richard.
Yeah, couch. I don't know. Couch is all I can say is couch for the first word of your sentence. That seems pretty difficult.
So you'd be like, couches, and you can even pluralize it. So like, couches are my favorite thing to lay on. When I come home from work, I just like to get on the couch, put my feet up, maybe pop some popcorn. And so what happens in that activity, which is a forced activity, obviously, is you have to wait to respond by listening to the end of the person before you sentence. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Right, but with couch, what I would say is a non sequitur. I guess that's why I didn't say it. That's what blocked me from doing it. I'm listening to you. Why would I like all of a sudden go off on a different tangent and talk about like couches that I like?
Well, and so that's a good point. In a normal conversation, you wouldn't, but just in this forced activity, it's one of those things that can take you wherever. And I should have prefaced that for you. It could take you wherever you're supposed to go. So the whole idea behind it is you can't pre-plan what you're going to say. You have to wait until the person is finished to start your sentence. And so with this case study, I was giving you this example from this healthcare facility I worked with this past week. There was a lot of sort of guessing what other people are thinking. There was a lot of not necessarily listening and fine-tuning a process. So when you listen to the end of a sentence and you have to use that last word to start the first word of your sentence, you are unable to pre-plan, you're in the moment, you're present. And I always ask people, if you're looking at my hand, let's just say the beginning of my fingertip to the end of my elbow, and let's say that's a full sentence, the tip of my finger to the end of my elbow. I always ask people, at what point in that sentence on my arm do you think that people stop listening? And most people say, what do you think they say, Richard?
When do they stop listening? I don't know, at various times. Maybe if the person's droning on, they kind of tune out in the middle.
Yeah. And so like some people say like at your wrist, and I've heard people say like at your cuticle. And it's so funny because it's true. Like when we're all human beings, we all are in our own heads and our own minds while people are communicating. But for me, like when I think about communication, the most important part of communication, in my opinion, is listening, because what happens is you make the person on the receiving end feel good.